there, everybody. Welcome to the Magic Pauper Premier League, sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com and Wizards of the Coast. I'm one of your hosts, Kendra Smith, a.k.a. the Maverick Girl, joined by...
Hey, I'm Brian Coble, a.k.a. Bosch and Roll.
Awesome. And this is week number 7 of the league here. We are now actually in the playoffs. We've had a whole bunch of cool matches for our little Swiss round robin pods matches, whatever you want to call them. And now we're towards the end here. Brian, how are you feeling about everything?
I like my matchup against Brian DeMars if I get there. Mm-hmm. I have to beat Michael first. And he's been traveling to Las Vegas all day. So we have his deck list, but I'm not sure which one I'm playing against in our match yet. But
I actually just got confirmation from him that you will be playing Burn. So
all right. That was the one I didn't want to play against, but yeah, we're going to do it. So.
Yeah, for sure. So let's have a look at our bracket and see what we got going on here. All right. And so here's how we are looking. We have, first off, and this was determined by our player standings at the end of the Swiss rounds. We had 5 players at the 4-1 4-2 bracket, and then we had 1 player in the 5-1. Now, normally we wanted to have multiple 5-1s try and play against each other, but there was only one 5-1, so not much we could do about that. And so because we had 5 4-2s, we have Brian here and Michael Bonde are going to be facing off. And then whoever wins against them goes to Brian DeMars, and then whoever wins that goes to the semifinals. But because Michael has been traveling quite a bit, we're going to come to him a little bit later. We're going to actually start off with our match against Ricardo, Mattana, and Chris VanMeter. Now, let's have a look at some of these decks and see what we got. We got Ricardo's list. Now, I do want to talk about one little thing, and that is that we are doing... for the initial match against Brian versus Michael, we are doing a single best-of-3 match. That's because it's more of a tiebreaker, so it's kind of like a continuation of our previous Swiss matches a little bit, so to speak. And after that, we're going to run and do three whole best-of-3 matches. So we're going to have quite an exciting time here. That's going to be for your quarterfinals matches, your semifinals match, and then your finals is actually going to be best of 5 matches. So it's going to be really cool to see what happens. So let's take a look at Ricardo's list real fast. First up, he's running something really cool here. This is a Tog Shift. Michael, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think that this matchup is going to work. I think that the way that they've chosen the A's and B's in their 2 decks is that Chris's deck A is going to have a hard time with Ricardo's deck A, and Chris's deck B is going to have a hard time with Ricardo's deck B. However, Chris's A is great against Ricardo's B and vice versa.
Right.
So if we get a third game, it's going to be really spicy. It's going to be a leveling system, see who blinks first, who submits what deck kind of thing.
Right. So to give an update on how that is, we haven't actually seen those on our screen yet. We have a Tog Shift is going to be from Ricardo's, his deck A, and his deck B is going to be Bogle's. And then Chris VanMeter's deck A is Mono Black Control. And after that, we're going to see his deck B, which is Burn. So yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting. If they were like alternated, switched back and forth, this would be very different. But I think as of right now, it feels a little bit favored to Ricardo. But it kind of comes down to, in my opinion, what's going to happen with Ricardo. Can he get a lifelink ability on one of his creatures fast enough? If he can, he's pretty much golden. There's not really much Chris can do to come back from that. But if Ricardo stumbles, we're going to be in for a heck of a time there. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, that is definitely true. If any creature with an Armadillo Cloak on it is going to have at least 3 power, and every card in Chris's deck deals 3. So every time a Bogle connects, it effectively counters the next spell Chris plays. And once Burns out of spells, that's all they get. And Ricardo has 1 extra lifelink. It's not a Dillo Cloak, but there's 1 extra ability to gain life in the sideboard.
So let's actually bring up that deck list again here. The Bogles one, so we can kind of see where that's looking like here. So, all right. There it is. So, we have, so we got the 3 Armadillo Cloaks. So it's interesting because it's 3 Armadillo Cloaks too, and not actually the 4 like it usually is. And then, yes, like you said, we have the lifelink out of the sideboard. So,
yeah, I did not consider the possibility that there were only 3 Dillo Cloaks. So Ricardo has sort of streamlined his list here for, he's got the Astrolabe package. That's what's going on. So
there's a few,
he chose to insulate himself a little bit against the Edict effects, but he's slightly softer to burn than he would be normally.
Which is really interesting because there's certain cards, if he's insulating himself against the Edict effects, we can see that with the Colony Guards because those generate an extra creature. But what we're not seeing here is any Cartouche of Solidarity.
Yep, there's none of those. Core Skyfisher replaced that. Skyfisher, it's got some pluses and minuses. Obviously, it's not an aura. So, sounds like our match is ready. We can talk when we're down there.
That's what it sounds like we're seeing here. So we're going to jump over and we're going to see we've got Ricardo on a Tog Shift, which is like updated affinity kind of list, versus Chris VanMeter on Mono Black Control. So we're going to head on over there and we're going to see what's going on. It looks like they're just about to get started here. Let's see some opening hands. So we got some interesting hands here. Chris's is a little on the slow side, but has a lot of potential, especially since it looks like he's going first. So he can go Swamp Duress and take anything here pretty much out of Ricardo's hand. He could take Astrolabe.
Yeah, I think he's going to take Astrolabe because it draws the same card that Chromatic Star does, but it fixes forever instead of once. And Affinity's mana base is pretty bad. So if you can keep them off of a prism effect, that's a huge advantage. But
looks like Chris will let on with a Barren Moor though, so he could try and go a little bit deeper on his mana, cast Sign of Blood, but didn't decide not to go down on a Duress here to take out that Astrolabe. So now it's going to turn into a very interesting game.
Yeah, you have to hit your land drops with Mono Black, and I think Chris played this correctly. Duress trying to color screw them early is one plan, but Duress clipping their fling later so they can't just kill you with an Atog is another totally viable plan.
Yep, absolutely. And we're going to see an Ichor Wellspring coming down here. We got all his lands, so we got some Chittering Rats. So Chris is going to use Chittering Rat's ability to basically put a card from Ricardo's hand on top of his library. So that way, Ricardo isn't really drawing too deeply on his lands here. And I think Ricardo is probably being a little bit on the hesitant side with the Atog at the moment. He doesn't want to go in too hard and risk running into like an Edict or something like that.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to lead with Atog unless you can protect it. So next turn he can play it with Muddle the Mixture up. Though the Tog isn't going very far. This parade of rats is going to just be a Tog food for a while. We have a Defile too.
Yeah, that Defile's going to do quite a bit.
Yeah, Chris's hand here has lined up really well against what Ricardo's presenting.
And there's the Duress. So the Duress takes out the Muddle the Mixture. We're going to put Chittering Rats down. Chittering Rats is going to hit Gearseeker Serpent, but then we're going to see a Gearseeker Serpent and the Atog come down.
Yeah, so the Tog has lots of food here. Ricardo was able to just hang 3 extra cards in play. So when the Tog eats those stars and the Wellspring, Ricardo's going to refill his hand too.
Yep.
Ooh, we even spiked podcast.
Yeah. But he didn't go in on any red mana there. I mean, I know he's got the Astrolabe here still. He's got the star. Maybe wanted to see what he could hit here. So I'm curious to see what gets played here. If we're gonna, yep, there's the Gear Seeker Serpent, and let's see if he goes in on the Atog as well. Risks any Chainer's Edict or anything like that. We know that Chris doesn't have anything here, but obviously Chris hasn't had any need to cast anything like Chainer's Edict, so Ricardo might not know exactly what's going on here.
Right, and Ricardo's deck notably doesn't have the affinity creatures. It doesn't have any throwaways like Frogmite. So he's going to have to present good creatures into these removal spells eventually. Yes. But he did deploy 2 creatures that only die to Edict. Like Defile will clear out those extra artifacts, but there's not nothing lines up. There's only 4 swamps in play, so the Serpent's going to live.
Yeah, Serpent lives. The Atog will stay, and even if you clear out the artifacts, though, Ricardo at that point is just drawing cards. And drawing cards is pretty much kind of what he wants to be doing a little bit. You can basically sack them, draw some cards, probably play something like a really small artifact, and then go in for a Thought Cast on 1, and then play whatever you've got from there. There's a lot of lines here and it looks like Chris is pretty much forcing Ricardo's hand here with the Defile.
Yeah, just make him sack the artifacts. He gets to eat those 2 cantrip artifacts, so that's quote-unquote free. He'd rather do it on his turn for the power and toughness, obviously.
Absolutely.
But that's why Chris is doing this when he did.
And we found an Astrolabe, so we will be able to do a Thought Cast for 1 mana. And we also found a Muddle Mixture, which is very relevant when we're trying to get off the fling and whatnot. So let's see what we got going on here.
Chris doesn't have a meaningful way to interact with fling, but Temur Battle Rage is the one that Ricardo's going to want protection for.
But we found a snow-covered forest. It's not really going to be... It's not really what Ricardo wants here.
Yeah, I'm going over Chris's deck again. He has Grey Merchant of Asphodel in the main deck to gain life, and he has a single Consume Spirit in the sideboard. There's no tendrils to just gain X at instant speed.
Yeah, so, and that's very important.
Right. When the fling is drawn, Ricardo's going to know that it's good.
Absolutely. So let's see what the heck's going on here. Lost the hand there for a moment. All right, so we got Astrolabe coming down. See what it draws. See what it finds. Something good.
Yeah, this is this is one of the biggest sweats in Pauper right now. You need a hit for your turn, and you draw Astrolabe, and you're like, okay, let's do it again. Around we go.
I mean, I've been playing it in Elves here for a little bit, and I'm actually enjoying it. I think it's pretty good. Yeah,
let's enjoy it for a couple more days, I think.
Yeah.
There's a good chance it goes away on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still on the fence about whether or not it should go, but I think there's definitely a very strong case for it leaving at this point. But that's not up to us. It's up to Wizards of the Coast. So we will see what happens. I'm very interested. There's also some other things in the discussion. Some people have talked about Ephemerate because obviously that's causing some issues. We've heard some discussion about Weather Storm. What are your takes on those, Brian? While we got a second, while Ricardo was lining things up.
So Ghostly Flicker has always been in the conversation about bannable cards in Pauper, and Ephemerate is a 1-mana variant on that effect that was already in the discussion at 3 mana. So I can definitely see it. And the Ephemerate with Archaeomancer Loop, it's just a build your own forever engine. It's just a 2-card engine that goes until your opponent breaks it up or kills you. So Ephemerate could certainly get hit. Weather the Storm's an interesting one. I guess the question is it oppressive to aggressive strategies?
Mm-hmm.
Like, certainly that Teachings deck I played in my first week wouldn't be playable without Weather the Storm. If we couldn't Teachings for 12 or 15 life in the mid game and get back in control, then that deck's not really viable against the great aggro strategies that exist in Pauper.
Right. So it's there's definitely some cases like for all of these. And I don't know if we're going to see anything. History has kind of shown us that they're a little hesitant to usually ban something from our little format here. But at the same time, who knows what could happen? They did say that when they officialized the format, they were actually going to, keep a closer eye on how things are going with the format right now. So, and look for whether or not we do need any bans at any point in time. How's the format health looking? How are things going along? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But what we've got coming down now is we've got an Unearth coming for this Chittering Rats that Ricardo took out last turn. At least that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, so this engine, this Rats Unearth engine can be super punishing against fair decks. But Ricardo, the Rats have represented -3 cards for Ricardo, but he had Wellspring come in and die. He had 2 Astrolabes, he had 2 Chromatic Stars, and he has a Prism in his hand. So he's still up several cards on this back and forth, and Chris has really presented almost nothing for it. There's Pestilence in play, which Pestilence is one of the best taxers of an Atog. So, and that Serpent will basically never die to Pestilence until Chris wants it to. Mm-hmm. It basically comes down to, can Chris get to 6 untapped black mana before he's at 6?
Right. It looks like we're going to see the Muddle the Mixture.
Oh, we're muddling this.
Or just actually casting Muddle the Mixture. That's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you have to transmute as a sorcery.
Oh, true. Yeah, it's been so long since I actually transmuted something. The last time I think the last time I actually transmuted a card was back in the old days of Classic Storm in Pauper, where you would go transmute Shred Memory to try and find your win conditions.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because now we're actually seeing a new build kind of like that. I don't know if you've seen that list yet.
Yes, I've seen a couple different Dark Ritual decks pop up in the past week, and I'm kind of excited about it. I have extra reason to want to make the finals. I already did, but if I can play Dark Ritual in this league, I'm gonna.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so basically it's almost like the original Deckland Storm list, but its payoff is
Chris is just dead here.
Yeah,
Chris going back to the game. Yeah, he has. Let's see if Ricardo wants to play around anything, but if he chooses to shove, I think we're done.
Yeah.
Just Phoria on the way out, and then all the artifacts are gone. Pestilence cannot clear either of these creatures.
Nope. That's going to be all she wrote. And so for anybody just joining us, we are actually going to remember this is basically one of our quarterfinals matches in progress currently. And so the way our quarterfinals are going to work, as well as our semifinals, is that we're actually playing 3 best-of-3 matches, whole matches. So this is only game 1 out of all of that. So let's see what happens here. We see Reaping the Graves coming in for Ricardo. Did I see Dispel come in? I'm seeing the Consume Spirit from...
Yep, anything to gain life is going to come in. Wrench Mine, not at its best against Affinity decks.
No, definitely not.
Reaping the Graves is such a beating. I played a lot of Control in my time in Pauper, and when Affinity figured out that card exists, that matchup got a whole lot worse very quickly.
Yeah. Can't quite tell what Chris brought in here.
Yeah, I see the Consume Spirit. He cut a Pestilence.
I'm trying to pull up the list right now. Looks like I'm seeing 2 Victim of Nights, which does make sense.
Right.
It takes out the Atogs. Actually takes out any creature in Ricardo's deck, basically.
Yep, Atog is afraid of the dark, it turns out.
Yep, there's another Duress that's coming in. And I think Thorn of the Black Rose.
Yeah, Thorn should definitely come in. Anything to get ahead on cards, because Affinity just outdraws this black control deck pretty significantly.
Right. It's just a tiny bit blurry on our end here. So nothing we can really do about that. That's more of our Discord here. But obviously it looks more it should look clearer for everybody watching via Twitch. But so it looks like we've got some pretty interesting hands here. I like Ricardo's. He's got the setup here to go off with the Gear Seeker Serpent. Not quite so much with the Atog. There's no Atog or anything. But CVM is... I don't know about this. What do you think? There is a Chainer's Edict here.
Chris's best draw is Sign in Blood that hits 2 lands. Like, these mono black control decks, they're so desperate for land drops. And every time I've messed around with them in the current Pauper era, I just feel like I get stuck on 3 and then like Gray Merchants in my hand, or stuck on 2 with a handful of rats.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of thing used to basically, that's how I felt. So when I first really picked up Pauper seriously, and I dabbled in it a little bit again during like back in the Storm days, back in Cloud Post, but I never really went too deep on it until like I picked up Mono Black Control as my first deck, and then it was Teamertron, which is what I ran last week, and that's kind of how I felt. And there's the Sign of Blood.
I also all right. So Chris hit land, Sign and Blood. Like I said, the Sign and Blood hits lands, he might have a chance.
Yeah.
All right. He's 1 land drop away. He's got another Sign and Blood, 1 land drop away from 5, which is the maximum functional. Yeah, it'll get that Gray Merchant in.
Yeah, so we got the Gear Seeker and then the Atog.
Yeah, he's got the Oubliette and Defile ready. But Muddle the Mixture's up. That cannot counter Oubliette, though.
Nope. You can counter the Chainer's Edict, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because then Chris can then just play the actual Swamp and then play the Oubliette. Yeah,
Chris would rather have Oubliette in play to power up this Gray Merchant a little bit.
Absolutely.
A 5-mana 2/4 that drains for 2 is not exciting. If you get into like the 5, 6, 7 range, that card's real dumb though.
Yep. So now the question is Ricardo going to go in on this Tog?
And how can you not? You have Dispel and Muddle the Mixture up. Did he play a land yet this turn?
He did not.
All right, so he can play a Tog with Dispel and Muddle the Mixture up. So I think he just has to.
Yeah. Yep, and there's the Tog. And we're going to see a pass back to Chris. And there's another land.
Yeah, currently a Tog is safe. We can Dispel a Defile. All right, Chris is digging. He wants to find a Duress to check the hand before he goes in on these precious removal spells.
Yep, or he wants something like another hard removal piece like Oubliette, Victim of Night, rather than Defile.
Right. Yeah, if he's casting these Defiles, he wants to do it on his turn, though. Hate to get double whammied by the power and toughness boost.
Absolutely.
That Unearth has no targets.
Nope. I feel like we're just going to see that end up getting straight up cycled.
Ricardo is 1 damage short of lethal. If he draws an artifact that he can get into play for his turn or off the Prism trigger, he's going to get this.
Absolutely.
If he decides to go for it. But I imagine he will go for it because this is Chris's final volley here. If he stops casting spells, it means he's out of spells here.
I don't know how I feel about this one from Ricardo.
Oh, yeah, I would have muddled here. Now he's pretty far off of lethal. Though there's no amount of sacking that'll get you out of an Edict.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was playing around Edict, that makes sense.
That does make sense, because there is still 2 mana open here.
Yeah, we're blessed with perfect information on both sides. We know that he was 1 artifact away from lethal. Oh, he didn't even draw the artifact, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have had to let Chris untap 1 more time anyway.
Mm-hmm. So now, so we're gonna probably see another creature come down after the Satog hits. What do? Do you go in for the top, or do you go in for the Gear Seeker, or do you not even do anything at all and just hold up that Muddle the Mixture?
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chris is untapping into the Flashback Edict.
Mm-hmm.
So I think holding up Muddle is fine. Playing a second Atog is the same as holding up Muddle the Mixture here.
Right.
If you're worried about Edict.
And we have a Duress coming in too.
Ooh, this gets punished by not deploying a second creature. Chris can Duress, take that Muddle, and then Rats, put something on top. He has a blocker. He knows he's not dead next turn.
Yeah.
And then he can Gray Merchant for 4 on the following turn.
Yeah. So if nothing else, Ricardo's not letting Chris know that there's a Tog Gear Seeker here.
Right. Yeah, like the Duress takes the Muddle. The only difference here is that he doesn't get to know what's in your hand.
Ooh, that's a pretty sweet draw there. We'll Reap in the Graves action. So we're definitely going to just see the Atog and Gear Seeker just get run out here.
Yeah, all these creatures are just parading into play at this point. But Rats is going to be at its best here against the opponent with 1 card in their hand.
Yep, and that card does not really do a whole lot at the moment. It's a very good card. It just doesn't do a ton right now.
Yeah, but going to Hellbent off this Rats is it's opening the door. Oh, there's the Bojuka Bog. All right, that doesn't matter. Chris can't kill these creatures before the Bog. But being Hellbent with Reaping the Graves is not really where you want to be. Like, that thing's probably going to get back 1 or 2 creatures when Ricardo finally goes for it. Yeah.
Although, realistically, that may be about all he needs.
Yeah, definitely. Both players are Hellbent here. If Ricardo finds a Teamer Battle Rage, I think that's his best draw.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he can only fling for 11, but Battle Rage deals that damage twice.
Yep.
All right, we're testing the blockers. I like this. Especially with Reap in your hand, it's just, go ahead, trade off.
Right, might as well.
And with Chris Hellbent, there's no surprises. Ricardo knows that if Chris blocks, he loses a creature, and if he doesn't block, he takes a huge chunk.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, we're just dogpiling this Atog. I think I like sacking 1 artifact, clearing out the Rats.
Yeah.
I guess clearing all blockers is also totally
it is, because then if there's nothing drawn here, and that's a Crypt Rats. It's actually a big deal here.
Yeah, that was a big draw. So there are only 2 artifacts left. So if Chris just elbow taps this Rats, it'll deal 5. And Ricardo can go down to 2 islands in play and a single Atog. Yeah. The Serpent survives that too. It's a 5/6. Yeah, so it's not time for the Crypt Rats. Yeah, this is tough. That Serpent's 6 on the back end is just too big.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about, like on turn 1. This mono black deck just wants to hit every land drop. Like Chris is punished because he missed land 9 here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Alex Allman is telling us in the chat right now, you block the Serpent with the Rats, you rats for 2, then untap an Edict. So yeah, you can mop up this board. And Ricardo can't sacrifice to the Atogs because then he can't cast Reap.
Right.
Or I guess he can do one of them. He can lose the Great Furnace now that he drew another land. Yeah, this has become a great game.
Yeah, and this is what I was kind of hoping that we would see. I think between the two decks, I think the mono black definitely has a little bit more of an edge against the Atog Shift deck here, largely because it's not a traditional affinity deck. If it was a traditional affinity deck, I think we would be seeing this run a little more differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
We lost Ricardo for a sec. In the meantime, yeah, the traditional affinity deck has more just like stuff laying around. Like those frog mites, just they chip in for a little bit of damage here and there, and then they chew up an Edict. And this Atog Shift deck is it just plays only good creatures instead.
Right. So it's a little more all in. So it basically cuts the frog mites, cuts the mirror enforcers. Ricardo's list, if I recall correctly, I've got the list up here, but it's a little more than normal, so I need to kind of scroll around just a little bit more. And yes, he's running 3 Carapace Forgers in his main deck here.
Yep.
So
yeah, maxed out on Serpent, maxed out on Atog.
Looks like we're trying to get Ricardo's hand back here.
Yep, just the 3 Forgers. Still, well, he has the 1 Battle Rage 2 Fling, which is pretty close to the normal number in Affinity, but he has 3 Muddle the Mixture to go get them. So it's like 6 copies of your combo kill.
Right. You got plenty of ways to do it. All right, it sounds like he's just about back.
One huge concession you have to make to play this deck, though, is that all your lands are not artifacts anymore.
Right.
Like
that's not always a bad thing either, because he's actually running like 19 lands, where your traditional affinity list runs 16, maybe 17 lands.
Right, and he doesn't just get destroyed by Gorilla Shaman, but at the same time, like your Thought Cast in Affinity always costs 1 on turn 2 or 3, but not in this deck.
It looks like Chris did not hold priority for the Crypt Rats hit there.
He didn't need to. Like, if Ricardo responds, then you just do it again.
Oh, and there's a Victim of Night.
All right, so now I think that Chris is favored. He's going to have to get some pressure, but that board is empty and he's at 12.
Yep. Won't take too long. We got a Reap in the grave.
Ricardo has the Reap. Never mind. Without his hand, I forgot. But yeah, here comes the Serpent and an Atog back, I imagine. Yep.
Can't play both of them this turn. So it's just going to be the Atog. The Atog's going to eat that Victim of Night all day.
Yep.
But there's the Thorn of the Black Rose. That's actually a pretty big draw here as well.
Yeah, that was probably Chris's best draw. He's going to clear this Atog. He's going to get extra draw steps. That thing has Death Touch, and Ricardo is not even close to activating Serpent's unblockability.
Yep. There we go. So we got the hand back. All right. So let's see what happens. Oh, And we might not even see this Victim of Night come down right now. Chris is not even close to the range of getting hit by Fling right now. So, but that Galv Blast changes some math a little bit here.
Yep. Suddenly, it's time to Victim of Night. He did have a free block. He could have blocked the Atog with the Death Touch, but...
Yeah. That Atog is coming in hot.
Yeah, that was the most exciting draw for coverage. For those of us watching and talking about this match, Galvanic Blast was the most exciting draw, because now Chris is in a one draw to hit a removal spell for Serpent, or he's going to lose the Monarchy.
Yep. So
Ricardo cashed in Star for an extra card in combat.
Yeah. Oh, there's a choking stance. It's not really going to do too much, except it does make it a little harder to cast that Gearseeker Serpent.
Yeah, like I was talking about when we lost Ricardo for a second there, these islands not being artifacts, this Serpent has been uncastable for the last several turns.
Yep, and there's a Defile too, and the Defile can absolutely take out this Serpent.
Yeah, we're at magic number 6, so Chris should run away with it from here. He got through the one of Reaping the Graves.
And that's Chainer's Edict. I think it's pretty much going to lock it up. But then we're going to switch back, and Ricardo's going to be on a play. I think it's going to change things a bit.
Yeah, we're going to sit here for a long time, though. Chris has to produce some way to deal 12 damage, which may or may not happen. And Ricardo just cast Perilous Research into double Astrolabe. He has so many cards coming right now.
Yep. And that's a Muddle mixture.
And an Atog. Yeah. So he has a path to Battle Rage here. Like if he wants to transmute that Muddle. Oh, that Rats is brutal, though.
Yeah.
And the Victim of Night. All right, now we have an instant removal spell. All right. I'm ready to call it now.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready last turn, but...
I think once Ricardo sees the Atog get defeated, or maybe sees the Edict, I think it's gonna be all she wrote.
Yeah, Ricardo worked so hard. We've all been in this position where we have 2 cards in hand and they're perfect. It's like the threat I was looking for and I can protect it. But Chris is just bounty of riches over here.
Yeah, so far ahead.
Yeah, and muddle the mixture on Chainer's Edict when your opponent can immediately flash it back.
Yeah.
Not where you want to be. I think you still have to muddle it, though, because that Edict's going to sit there.
Mm-hmm. No muddle action there. We're going to see a Chittering Rats come in hot, followed by a Thorn of the Black Rose. Get that Monarch again.
Yeah, double Monarch. That's not really a thing, folks, but
Pestilence.
He's got it.
Yeah, so we're going to see Victim of Night.
Serpent.
Victim of Night comes down. Comes down so hot right now.
Yep. He's got the muddle, but he muddles it, then he just gets edicted. He tried so hard and got so far.
In the end, though,
Didn't even matter.
All right. And so we got that Victim of the Night coming in hot. There it is. And we've got the Disfigure, which deals with like any Atogs or anything. Double Disfigure even.
Let's see what Ricardo's made of here.
So we're just calling it there.
All right. One more draw step was enough for him.
Yep. All right. So we're probably not going to go too deep on running this back here, if I had to take a guess. I think they're just kind of eyeballing things, look, see, make sure if any changes need to be made or anything. But I think other than that, we're probably just going to end up running it back.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of like play draw dependent stuff in this matchup. It's just good cards in, bad cards out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Alex Ullman in the chat pointed out that if Ricardo didn't muddle that removal spell, and if he transmutes for Fling and just hopes to draw a Tog, that disregards removal. So there might have still been a line there. It was a small percentage, but it was really... Alex is saying Ricardo was one artifact away from lethal.
Mm-hmm.
But one artifact, one Atog, and one Fling away from lethal, really. So there was a lot of work on a short clock.
Yep. All right, so it looks like we're going to jump right back into it here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see what we got going on. I think we're just waiting for just a quick second. They were trying to determine, since this is, these are kind of, we're trying to treat these as sort of untimed matches. We basically might just restart some matches and just see where we're at. So we're basically just confirming, making sure that whether or not Ricardo felt comfortable playing with the remaining time he had. He's got about 9 minutes left on his clock, but that should be plenty of time for a Tog shift. Oh, closer to 8 minutes, but still, a Tog shift, it'll be fast one way or another. I like that hand from Ricardo. Both of these are actually really strong.
Yeah, Chris with 2 actual swamps. No Barren Moor to slow him down, but also no Duress for the first time.
Yeah. But he's just got removal on top of removal on top of removal on top of removal.
And Ricardo's got cards coming. The Thoughtcast, he's going
to... Leave of Trace came in. That's interesting.
He's worried about Pestilence. That makes sense. Pestilence is one of the best Tog killers.
Oubliette as well.
Yeah.
You can hit an Oubliette and get one of your threats back. That seems pretty solid to me.
Yeah, that's a nice trick. If you can take a Pestilence with it, good for you.
Absolutely. And there's another Thoughtcast. We've got the Flang. So we are starting to look pretty set up here.
Yeah, Ricardo is assembling Voltron over there. Chris is going to need a Duress because the Fling game plan doesn't care about a removal spell.
And there's a Dispel there, too.
Yeah,
just being really interesting really fast.
So Ricardo's deciding if he wants to Thoughtcast up to 8 cards in hand, because he doesn't really want to dangle a creature into what's certainly a wall of removal.
Right. Looks like he's thinking about the Serpent. Yes.
Yeah, you can't dispel Chainer's Edict, though, so this Serpent is not long for this world.
Nope, not a chance. But that's fine. What I think it's going to really come down to, I think it's going to ultimately be Ricardo just has to try and draw into as many artifacts as he possibly can. There's the Atog, but I don't think he wants to play the Atog just yet.
No, he wants to play the Atog when he can make it one artifact bigger than he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
Because Chris will respond to the sacrifice with a removal spell, and then he'll have to sack in response to all of that, then Fling.
Yeah.
So each instant speed removal spell that Chris can produce essentially gains him 2 life in this sub-game we're playing here.
Yep. But it looks like that Atog is coming down.
All right, JK, Ricardo's in.
Yeah, Ricardo showing no fear. Although, unfortunately, it's kind of going to come back to bite him a little bit.
Yeah, this thing is... It's going to die. There are so many removal spells in Chris's hand.
Although at the same time, sometimes you just got to make him have it,
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly possible that there were just lands and Gray Merchants in Chris's hand.
And Thorn of the Black Rose, too.
Yeah, so if Chris can... All right, he just went for the clean, safe Edict. That's smart. If he went for the Defile there, it could have It would have been for 4. Ricardo would have had to sack 2 things.
That's another Atog right there.
That's the draw. If this is the game we're playing, just keep shoving Atogs onto the stack.
So it's going to get interesting, but I think it's still going to be a lot of removal, but it's basically going to come down to can Ricardo end up getting more draws than, or can Ricardo draw more creatures than Chris's removal, which it doesn't seem like is going to happen here.
Yeah, Chris is going to slam Thorn, and then we're out of here.
Yeah.
The backup Edict, just in case. So, wide open board. Ricardo's hand basically blank on
Chris
this board state.
Drew absolutely.
He can huddle for another Atog.
Yeah.
He can start to try to work towards that that single turn fling plan.
Yeah. But man, oh man, this is Chris definitely drew the god hand here as far as how to deal with this matchup. And it looks like that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to see that model come in for that Atog.
Yeah, so to get
it's going to be the grim fate here in just a second.
Yeah, so Ricardo would need 10 artifacts and 4 mana to do the 1-turn fling.
Mm-hmm.
He's quite a ways away from that on the artifact count.
And there's another Chainer's Edict there. Oh boy.
Yeah. So the exciting thing about this is that Chris broke serve here. He beat one of the quote unquote bad matchups.
Mm-hmm.
And if Ricardo holds serve in the next matchup and beats Burn with his Bogles, we're going to have just like the crazy Russian roulette level system in round 3 where they get to pick their deck unbeknownst to their opponent.
Yeah, it's going to be unreal to see. There's the Edict. Sign in Blood finds Disfigure and another Swamp. And we're just going to go in. That's another Sign in Blood for Chris. He's just going to draw all the gas, all the cards.
Oh, geez. There's a Atog number 4. Hold, Ricardo. Hold.
He's full holding there. He knows what's going on here. He knows that Chris has the mana up for it. There's the Grey Merchant. We're going to see the Sign in Blood. There's a Chittering Rats too. Yeah, this game's over. So, yeah. And so that's the match. CVM takes match 1 here. He's going to play 2 more, or maybe just 1 more. We'll see what happens in this next one. But next up, we're going to have Ricardo is going to end up playing Bogles next, and then CVM is CVM is going to play Burn. So it's going to be Bogles versus Burn. It's really going to come down to if Ricardo can draw a life gain card. And
right.
I'm curious to see what we're going to see happen. But we're going to change our we're going to give them a second, let them get their decks changed, and we're going to switch over because Brian's going to be subbed out for Alex Ullman. We're going to have him join us for commentating this next match, and if we have a third one, he'll be joining us for that as well.
Yep. See you later, everyone.
Best of luck in your matches, Brian.
CoolStuffInc.com is your home for everything Magic the Gathering. Need singles for constructed or kitchen table play? Looking to pick up some sealed product or the latest in Magic accessories? We've got you covered with our extensive live inventory. With free shipping on orders of $100 or more, a 25% buy list bonus, and our ever-popular customer rewards program, CoolStuffInc.com is the place for all your Magic the Gathering needs.
everyone. Welcome back to the Pauper Premier League playoffs. I'm Alex Ullman, here with Kendra Smith. Glad to be back. Managed to catch the tail end of that match. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, that was a doozy. That would not have been my call just going into this.
Yeah, I think that... So when ATOG Shift, I think the first time I saw it was a couple months ago, actually. Someone went 5-0 in a friendly league and posted it to Twitter. And this was before Modern Horizons and everything. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty neat deck. And then it started putting up 5-0s and doing well in the challenges. And then a couple weeks ago, they moved to this snow thing so they could run Astrolabe.
Yeah.
And I think that's when the deck stopped doing as well. I think that it still puts up a 5-0 here and there, but it's kind of fallen off in the challenges. And that might be because the challenges have shifted kind of towards more aggressive decks. And this is
just a little bit there. Yeah.
Fragile. But I think that you really saw the Snowlands hurting Ricardo in game 2 and 3. If those had been straight up artifact lands, he probably would have pulled it out.
Yeah, because he would have been able to spit out the Gear Seeker Serpents that much faster. But sounds like we're set. So let's go down. We got match 2, best of 3, coming in hot. So we've got Ricardo on Bogles, CVM on Burn. Let's see what they got going on here. I'm real excited to see this.
Yeah, this matchup is all about whether or not Ricardo, at least game 1, can draw any of his Armadillo Cloaks. And, there's one in his opening hand that he's going to have to mulligan. And Chris has, let's see, that's 15 points.
And if he draws a second land, it's even more.
Yeah, but that's a hand that I think if you're Ricardo, you have to mulligan.
Yeah. Wow, these hands are rough.
So yeah,
I would probably just keep that one just because at least you can just draw a ton of cards and keep going.
Yeah. He bottoms the Ranker. Okay, so I think just so everyone knows, what we're doing is we're playing best 2 out of 3 matches, except for one match, which is kind of a play-in, and that's coming up soon. So with this is Chris VanMeter won match 1, so he's up a match, and he is Burn against Boggles. Ricardo needs to go back to back. So they each brought 2 decks, and so depending on the outcome of this match, we might see again, or we might just go to another match, different players. But
so this is a little interesting. So I don't know if you saw that, Alex, but Ricardo went in instead. He played Core Skyfisher there to pick up the Abundant Growth, as opposed to leading in on something like the Colony Garden going into another Abundant Growth. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think he was really hoping just to get a body on the board to block the Ghitu Lavarunner. But CVM played it correctly. He had this Rift Bolt, pointed it directly at Skyfisher. Basically what Skyfisher did there is it saved Ricardo 3 points of life. But I don't think... well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
A lot's going to depend on whether or not Chris respects the ability of Ricardo to suit up that plant token with Armadillo Cloak.
Looks like he does.
So this is going to be a pretty important play. So I like what Chris is doing here. He's playing around the potential to get blown out. He knows how he loses this game, and he's not going to let it happen. No, that doesn't work. He can't fight the Lavarunner.
No.
I think if you're Chris, though, I think no matter what, you want to snap off this Lightning Bolt end of turn, because then it frees up your mana to do more damage next turn.
Absolutely. So Ricardo's debating if he wants to kind of force Chris's hand here a little bit and put the Ethereal Armor on the plant token.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. And I think the debate was whether or not you wait a turn to fling it. But it doesn't matter. Lightning Bolt snapped off. Ricardo has all the pants in the world and nothing to wear them. And CVM just has lethal burn in hand, basically. He has 12 points. All that needs to happen right now is Ricardo needs to not draw anything that can wear that armadillo cloak. And even if he does, CVM is still in really good shape.
Yeah. So this is unfortunate. This is really unfortunate for Ricardo, because he's going to play that Colony Garden and he's going to play that Armadillo Cloak, and it's just not going to work out.
Oh, he was patient.
Yeah,
that's actually gonna come back to bite him more. So I think what Ricardo's actually doing here is he's just trying to play around Chain Lightning, leave his mana untapped, so that way if Chris does Chain Lightning, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Chris has the double lava spike, and we're going to game 2, and things get better for Ricardo this time around.
Yes, he's got some number of dispels. He's got Standard Bearers if he wants to bring those in as an extra, kind of target. And obviously he brings in Lifelink too.
So my question for you, let me just take a look at something real quick. We saw earlier in week 4, we saw Brian Koval bring in land destruction against the hexproof, the Boggles of Andreas Peterson, who was playing a very similar Astro Boggles list. And I was talking to Brian about that, and he said it was because he wanted bodies. But we saw that work. We saw all the work it did against the lands loaded up with Utopia Sprawl. If you're Chris, do you consider bringing in Molten Rain?
Absolutely. Because if you actually look at Ricardo's list, you do see there are a few dual lands in there, or not really dual lands, I should say, but non-basic lands. We've already seen the Colony Gardens. There's Crumbling Vestige. Looks like there's even an Ash Barrens in the list. So there are targets that you can hit. If there's any abundant growths on there, you then take those abundant growths out of the picture. If it's a forest, but Ricardo put 2 Utopia Sprawls on it, well, you basically just deprive Ricardo then of 3 mana.
Yeah, what it looks like is that Chris is shaving the Lava Runners in favor of Martyr of Ashes and Firebrand Archer. He's trying to go around the combat step, which is really what you have to do in Burn. Ricardo, meanwhile, looks like he brought in the Lifelink, took out the Flings, didn't bring in Standard Bearer.
No. And I feel like people kind of debate on whether or not you should be bringing in those Standard Bearers. I think for Bogles, it's a little hit and miss, but at least in the worst case, it does act as a lightning rod. Now, one thing that I find really interesting here is that Ricardo left in all of his core Skyfishers, but took out a Stilhana Ledgewalker, which means he's actually got 1 less hexproof creature in the mix.
I think he's expecting Chris to bring in the Martyr of Ashes.
Absolutely. So we also
Cartouche of Ambition. That is that
missed that one, to be honest.
That's some prime greed right there.
Yeah, but it's gonna pay off for him, I think, here.
It's gonna take some time. I mean, yes, Ricardo's gonna have turn 1 Slippery Boggle potentially, but he doesn't have a lot to follow it up. No, he's going with Abundant Growth. Okay. Which
I think is the smart play as a fellow Bogles player myself.
What do you think of Astro Boggles or Bogles as opposed to just the straight up version?
I haven't really... Ooh. That's an army cloak right there.
It is, but Ricardo did not play... He is playing in a way to set it up. Yeah, that's kind of game.
Yeah. It's pretty much set up at this point, especially because what you're going to see happen now is you're going to see the Armadillo Cloak is going to land. Oh, my. That's an Ancestral Mask there, Alex.
Yeah, well, this game's over.
Not even close.
So, as Brian said, we're gonna get to game 3 because I don't think there's literally nothing Chris can do at this point.
Nope.
He should literally he really should just scoop at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, there it is. And honestly, even if Ricardo didn't want to go on the Ancestral Mask, which there's definitely a case where maybe I might not have gone in on it in favor of going in on the Cartouche of Ambition. Because what that basically does is it creates double lifelink for Ricardo's creature at that point.
Yeah, but I like the mask more. It just means it sets you up so much more in case anything does happen.
Right. And the players are just running it back.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what you want to see if you're Chris. You finally get to cast your Thermo-Alchemist. Ricardo has a great hand also, but doesn't have lifelink. So what this is going to come down to is how fast can CVM set up versus how fast can Ricardo apply pressure. And unless Ricardo draws, unless he draws a lifelink spell, whether that's Cartouche, whether that's Armadillo Cloak, I like CVM's position. Ricardo doesn't have any redraws. He is literally just drawing off the top of his deck right now.
Yeah.
And with it, I do like CVM's position a lot more, especially now that he drew that second Skewer the Critics.
Yes.
This is going to be tight.
That's in Abundant Growth. Now, I don't know how much I like Ricardo's line there, because Ricardo went and I see what he's trying to do now, and I do like what he's doing now, which is he's trying to suit up, get a bunch of mana. He found there's the Ethereal Armor, so now he can call white. So he has 2 white sources now. Next turn he can go Ethereal Armor and Ancestral Mask, but that just probably might not be enough.
Let's see. So next turn, that's going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's going to be 13 power. But he did set himself up wonderfully to top deck. And that's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
He top decks a lifelink spell. All this work pays off. He could not have possibly known that Chris had what basically amounts to one of the best possible draws you can have in Burn against any opponent. Chris is playing this safely. Yeah. So he's setting it up. So that is a pretty awkward draw. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would just go in for the Ancestral Mask and just slam it.
Yeah. 14.
14.
So let's see. That puts him. I don't think you block. I think you have the win if you don't block. You put him down to 12. You deal 4. Yeah, the game is over.
Chris wins.
Chris VanMeter basically breaking serve twice. Just set this up. And he, first of all, let's not take anything away from Ricardo, who is a really good player, a really strong player, and really kind of, everyone in the chat from Brazil was just rooting for him the entire time. We were really happy to be able to get him here.
Absolutely. It was absolutely fantastic to have him come in, interact. I wish we could have him in for exiting kind of a little interview, so to speak.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he declined to do any commentating due to language barriers and such.
Yeah, but I am absolutely sure that he's going to get a YouTube video up at some point soon. He does have a channel where he'll talk about this in his in Portuguese, and I encourage you all to check him out. The Brazilian Magic community, the Brazilian Pauper community especially, is this really vibrant, and they're so excited, and they really love the format, and they definitely come at it from a slightly different angle than the American community and also the Italian community.
Yeah, I was about to mention the Italian community is like that as well. You see tremendous diversity between all these different metagames. It's really cool to see play out and happen.
It reminds me a lot of Legacy before Magic Online kind of really adopted Legacy, where there was the Japanese metagame and the Italian metagame and the North American metagame. But really, hats off to Ricardo. Played extremely well all season. He pointed out that I think it was him who had the 11/11 Hidden Spider last week. So props to that. That's something I never thought I'd see.
Yeah, Hidden Spider was wild. And we actually might see some more of that here coming up here really soon.
But what we're going to go to next is we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to go to Michael Bunda versus Brian Koval. And they're just playing a regular best 2 out of 3 match. So the way we set up the bracket was they were the lowest 2 ranked players in the playoffs. So they're playing a play-in for the opportunity to play Brian DeMars. Those 2 winners, so the winner of Michael versus Brian will then play Brian DeMars. The winner of and then we'll square off with Brian DeMars playing them. And then the winner of the Brian DeMars match will play Chris VanMeter next week for the right to play Adam Yurchek to go into the finals. The Adam Yurchek match will be the finals to become the proper Premier League Season 1 champion.
Yeah, so this is going to be really exciting to see all of this play out. A little different than I think we were hoping for in terms of how this bracket was going to end up looking, but I'm still very excited to see how it all pans out. But we're going to be right back really shortly with the little tiebreaker match here between Brian Caval and Michael Bunday. Stay tuned.